Casanova 2 times spent most of his life chasing two things: respect in the streets and success in the music industry. And for a while, he had both. After being sentenced to nearly a decade in prison at 19 years old, he got out in 2014 and decided he was going to record his very first rap song with zero rap experience. That song landed him a deal with Roc Nation. He toured with Chris Brown, dropped viral street anthems, and built a loyal fan base in New York. But according to the FBI, behind the scenes, Cass was living a double life. They say he wasn't just a rapper. He was a leader in the untouchable guerrilla Stone Nation Bloods, a violent street gang tied to shootings, drug trafficking, and fraud. And Casanova, he admitted to it all. A robbery in NYC, a shooting in Florida, financing drug deals, and conspiring to move over 100 kilograms or 220 pounds of marijuana. Facing up to 60 years in federal prison, he wrote a letter to the judge saying that he wasn't a gang member anymore, that he was done, and he wanted to be a better person. Just weeks after that letter, he was slashed across the face in jail by another inmate, and this attack was rumored to be retaliation for Cass's attempt to leave the gang. Casanova had everything: label deals, cosigns, money, fame, but in the end, he couldn't outrun the life he came from or the crimes he committed. This is the story of Casanova 2 times.
Yeah, caught me slipping. It's cool. Everybody getting shot. Everybody getting shot. You know the motto. You know my body. Talk all that shit, man. Just talk all that shit. I'm talking about all these rappers and all these fake gangsters, man. You go to the feds for Rico and they offer you 20 years and you're a millionaire. You're telling.
Casanova is wanted by the FBI. His real name is Caswell Sr., and the feds say he's a member of a violent street gang. Sr. is one of 18 members charged with drug trafficking and racketeering in the city and upstate. Federal agents believe Sr. could be in Atlanta. One of the suspects is charged with murdering a Poughkeepsie teenager in September.
Play with me. Last that played with me would have been 28 today. Shout out to all our classic.
Yo, that's tough.
All our classic.
No, that's
All
tough.
our classic.
As you already know, I'm fighting serious charges right now. But I'm innocent, that's one. Two, I've been fighting my whole life, so I'll get through this. Just understand how they can get you jammed up. You don't know nobody, you ain't got nothing to do with nothing, they still get you jammed up. Rappers, we are a target. Just be careful out there, watch who you associate with.
Casanova 2 times, real name Caswell Sr., was born October 27, 1986, and comes from Flatbush, Brooklyn, one of New York's grittiest neighborhoods. His father was Haitian and served as a deacon at a church, and his mother was Panamanian. Together, they had 14 children, and Cass was the youngest of them all. According to him, they were well off. His mom owned an 8-bedroom house just outside of Flatbush, and by all accounts, he didn't grow up lacking anything.
That's what made it worse, because my mom had money, and every time she couldn't really believe this was her son doing this. My son wouldn't do that. For what? I do everything for him. Like, we had an 8-bedroom house in Flatbush. As soon as you turn, we had it was a little suburb park. As soon as you turn, that's where Two First and Church was. But my dead-end block was like one of the biggest houses in Flatbush. Truthfully, I'm kind of like one of the good kids that went bad. Like, I grew up in a big house, but I didn't need to do crimes at all. I think that came from me being spoiled. I was the baby boy, so I was getting spoiled a lot.
But even with a big family and a stable home, it wasn't enough to keep him out of the streets. Because according to Casanova himself, his family gave him everything he needed, but what he wanted was respect. And in Flatbush, respect didn't come from getting good grades.
There was no going back now. It was like, why ask your mother? You could just go take it. You get sucked in peer pressure, trying to be accepted instead of respected. So you always wanted to do what your mans was doing or your friends was doing. So you don't look like a punk or a square. The average kid just want to be accepted. You know what I'm saying? So if my mom's giving me everything, but my other friend is robbing it, I'm just like, shit, That's cool. That's cool to do. You don't get praised for being good in the hood. Niggas is like, he's a cornball.
Right.
Look at him, he got an A.
By the 8th grade, he had already dropped out of school, and by 11, according to his official Roc Nation bio, he was already committing robberies.
My first robbery was probably like at 11. I started stealing sneakers first. So then my friends used to be like, all you gotta do is wait on the line, wait for somebody to order your size, and then when they order it, snatch it and run.
Now, Cass did eventually end up getting in trouble for these little petty robberies, and at age 13, he went to jail for the first time. And this was a moment that was pivotal in Cass's life. It's the moment that everything changed, because while he was locked up, he joined the untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation blood.
First got caught probably like 12 or 13 years old. Yeah, they sent me to juvie. And I'm from Flatbush, so my whole area at one point in time was just Crips. Everybody just labeled me as a Crip. Where you from? Flatbush. Oh, he Crip. So I had to get it in extra. And that's where I turned blood in jail. You know what I'm saying? Because I started fighting them so much that they was like, man, you down, man. Come on. All right, we hear you. You ain't even Crip, you blood.
Casanova didn't grow up needing to be in the streets. He chose to. And that choice would define the next 2 decades of his life. And it all started right there in Flatbush.
We on Lennox and Flatbush. This is where I used to catch my robberies and run in this block and go in a million buildings. These are the buildings I used to run through the back, come out through the front. We got Bloods, Crips, Nietes, Latin Kings, Rat Hunters. We got everything out here. Big B's, Red Sox.
And while there were a lot of gangs in the area, what Casanova didn't say on camera was that the gang that he would eventually become a leader in already owned half the blocks he was walking through. It was called the Untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation, which is a blood set that was founded in the New York prison system by a guy named Dwight Reed, or Dick Wolf. And if the name sounds theatrical, just know it wasn't. This was one of the most violent street gangs on the East Coast, with many of its members being able to be identified by their call sign, Vallejo.
I'm dragging my knuckles, I'm beating my chest. We screaming Vallejo. We catching you like it, we spinning your block. We letting that Drake go. Wherever we at, we turning it up. We screaming Vallejo. They rolling with us, they loving the game. They screaming Vallejo. I'm dragging my knuckles, I'm beating my chest. We screaming Vallejo.
Knuckles is dragging, I'm raising hell. Free Dick Wolf, how did that sell? I'm on the gram, looking at cash. I should be in Dubai with the bro. They want peace, but I want smoke again. She says, Vallejo, you won't never see your hoe again. She wanna fuck with the big back.
Vallejo, I scream that shit to my day go.
We in AOCC, we outside?
According to reports, Vallejo is the Stone Bloods gang call, the verbal flag they shout to show loyalty and identity. It wasn't just flair, it was turf. Fall out of line, break the code, and you don't get a second chance. By 2020, the Gorilla Stone Nation was tied to some of the most brutal crimes the FBI had seen. A 15-year-old boy shot dead, a drive-by shooting outside a Miami strip club, a gunpoint drug robbery. By the late 2010s, the power structure of the untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation was being exposed, starting with its founder, Dwight Dick Wolf Reed. On January 2nd, 2014, Reed walked into PJ's bar in Harlem just after 3 a.m., but he wasn't there to drink. According to witnesses, a 33-year-old man named Calvin Wallace had been talking to a girl that Reed liked, and apparently that was enough to set him off. So Reed walks up, pulls out a gun, and shoots Wallace in the head. No argument, no warning, just a quick, brutal execution. Wallace dropped right there on the barroom floor. At first, investigators thought Reed might have been high on Molly when it happened, and the media ran with that, calling him the Molly-eyed killer. But as the case unfolded, it looked less like a drug-fueled meltdown and more like a personal hit. Basically, Reed saw someone talking to his girl and decided to end it. Reed took off right after the shooting and disappeared from the city for 6 months until June 2014, when he got caught after crashing into a police car in Pennsylvania before fleeing the scene and taking police on a high-speed chase. He was hauled back to New York and put on trial in 2017, and while trial was happening, the judge had to clear the whole courtroom at one point because Gorilla Stone affiliates were allegedly intimidating witnesses and courtroom reporters from the benches. The intimidation didn't matter though, because the jury found him guilty of second-degree murder, and Reed was sentenced to 50 years to life. But like most gang stories, that wasn't the end of it. It was just the beginning, because even behind bars, Reed kept running the untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation. Eventually, Reed would be re-indicted along with Casanova and 17 other people in 2024. But because of the gang operating on this violent premises, they ended up building a real name for themselves in the streets. They had a real operation. And while Reed was stuck behind a wall, there was someone else that was stepping into the spotlight. A rapper with momentum, a voice with influence, and a name that the streets would eventually grow to recognize: Casanova. When Casanova got out of juvenile detention, he wasn't just a kid from Flatbush anymore. He was now officially a blood, dropped right back into a neighborhood that was mostly Crip territory. And the wild part is, most of his friends were Crips, which is why even years later on his song Set Trippin', you could still hear him say things like this:
The homies mad cause some Crips is my hitters.
I guess back then, loyalty wasn't really about colors, it was about who you was riding with, and Cass was building his own crew. And they wasn't just hanging out, they was robbing, check cashing spots, small offices, anything with cash on hand. They'd hit fast, get what they could, and then dip. It wasn't cinematic, it was sloppy and aggressive, but they was hungry and reckless. And by the age of 19, this activity had caught up with him. Casanova got arrested during a robbery and was hit with serious charges.
That was the thing to do, you know, rob the check cash is the easiest. I always used to pull up with like a shotgun. So it was real intimidating. It was me and Kenny. Me and Kenny going there, got the 2 shots, everybody get down. The dude gave the money. So we take off, we good. My dumb ass had a girl like a block and a half away. I run straight to her house. I guess somebody saw me running in the building, so they surrounded the building, but I didn't know. I just heard a knock at the door. NYPD, open up. She was like, I gotta open the door, my mother's gonna kill me. And she opened that door, man. And me being dumb, I threw the gun outside the back of the window, thinking like, my dumb ass, they was out there in the back of the window, like they caught it. That's what they said. They took me in, and I was like, fuck it. My mom gonna bail me out.
And he was right. His mom did bail him out of jail. But what Casanova didn't know was that his co-defendant had already snitched, gave a full statement to the cops, flipping on the whole crew. Still, they kept moving like nothing happened, and they did another robbery just days later. And that one, it went bad. In Cass's Vlad TV interview, he tells the story of how his homie got locked inside the building that they were robbing, and that the people who worked there lived right above it, and they ended up locking his homie inside and beating him before they called the police. 3 days later, Casanova's bail got revoked, and now he was stuck, facing real time. He had to make a choice: take it to trial and risk 25 years or cop a plea. He said his lawyer told him straight up, if you blow trial, you're done. You're gonna go away for at least 25. So Cass decided to take a plea deal, which seen him getting sentenced to 6.5 years behind bars. He went in young, loud, full of pride, still thinking that he was invincible, but prison would humble Cass fast, because not long into his bid, he caught another charge, this time for boofing drugs, which means trying to sneak drugs into the facility by putting it in his third pocket.
So you were boofing basically?
Yeah, of course. I went to the box for boofing.
Okay.
I went for dope, boofing dope. I got caught.
This charge gave Cass an extra 2.5 years. So what was supposed to be a 6-year stretch turned into almost a full decade behind bars. And according to Cass, this was hard time. Over those 7 years, he claims to have cut at least 12 people, possibly more, either out of self-defense, prison politics, or just survival. But eventually, his number came up and he got released in 2014. And the plan was simple. He wanted to get right back to the streets and start robbing again. But the streets had changed. During the years he was locked up, New York had cracked down on this type of violent crime, and what used to be a 5-year bid for a stick-up was now turning into 15, 20, even 25 years. So his old crew decided that these robberies just wasn't worth it anymore. Guys who used to ride with him had gotten jobs, settled down, or just got scared, and nobody wanted to risk that kind of time. So now Cass was out of jail, broke, hungry, and alone. The robberies weren't happening, the connections were gone, and with no plan B, he turned to dealing just to get by. But even that didn't last, because within 2 months of him being released, he got arrested again for another robbery. But this time, Cass swore he didn't do it. He claimed it was a mix-up, that he got picked up off of reputation alone and then pointed out in a lineup, leading him to be falsely incarcerated for this. Whether he did it or not, the system didn't care.
I came home, 7 and some change, came home, still was on it. I came home like, yo, what's up? What's going on? He's like, yo, we not robbing no more. So now I'm like, hold on, nobody not with this gangster shit I'm on? Everybody like not trying to be next to me.
It's over.
And then it's scary. Now you know, now I know why. But you don't want no robber around you no more. You like, nigga rob me, he hungry. I'm in my bag, nigga might try to rob me, fuck out of here. So everybody used to kind of push me away. And then I got locked up by mistake again.
Which time?
After I came home.
After the 7.
After that,
Okay.
I got locked up for a robbery I did not do. I'm in jail, I'm about to pass out. I'm on parole, and parole picked me up. Like, listen, put you in the lineup. I'm like, for what? I'm like, you could put me in the lineup, I don't care. I get picked out the lineup.
Damn it, man.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, I damn near passed out. I just couldn't believe it. I said, damn, I just only been home. Once you start counting the months, I said, I only been home for 3 months.
Sitting in that cell, waiting to beat yet another case, Cass started to think about how he had been moving. Through the years of violence, stick-ups, and chaos, he had earned a name, and some even called him the biggest gangster in Flatbush. But for what? He was broke, alone, and sitting in jail. That's when something clicked. For once, Casanova didn't want stripes. He wanted out. So when he finally beat the case and touched the streets again, he decided to try something new. He hit up his sister, and she put him in contact with Local 79, a construction union in New York City. It wasn't glamorous, and it wasn't fast money. It was just honest work. But Cass started waking up early, throwing on a hard hat, and clocking in like everybody else.
I came home, I told my sister, I said, listen, I need a job, man. I need a job. She got me in with Local 79. So that's where my better days came in at from there.
It was the first real job Cass ever had, and for a minute, he actually tried to make it work, but eventually, his patience wore thin.
Again, shout out Local 79. It was just like construction. I'm breaking my back 6 in the morning.
Being tired.
6 in the morning, it's just like, I couldn't do it, and it made me really respect the working man. I'm like, how the f- these do it? And then what scared me the most, it wasn't really nobody that made me stop. It what scared me the most is looking at the 43-year-olds with their hip injured, they fucking back injured, they limping, and I was like, what's going on? And they was like, oh no, the insurance covers everything, you know? And I'm like, I'm not trying to be working here for 20 years. Like, I forgot, like, the meeting we had, they was like, yo, your pension after 20 years, maybe 15, 20 years is $200,000. But while I was at work, I was in the field, and I'm like, I got a buck already. Hold on. This job might be f***ing my shit up. And I just had to say f*** it. You know what I'm saying? F*** insurance, f*** all that life insurance, f*** all that. They taking everything out my check. I'm talking about they taking shit out my check for that was before me. They're talking about this is for the people that retired. They pension. Taking $180 out of my shit for these. I don't know these. I don't bang with these. What the f*** is wrong with you? So I just quit.
After walking away from his first real job, Casanova was back to square one. No plan, no income, just the same old itch to do something. And then Almost by accident, he found music. See, Cass was never a rapper. He had never been in the studio and didn't even know how to write bars, but one day, his friends invited him over to the studio. He hopped in the booth and recorded a remix to Yo Gotti's song, Down in the DM.
Don't you hate when they call the cops? Bitch, I'm on parole. Don't make me high.
That remix to Down in the DM, it was never supposed to go anywhere. But Casanova posted it on SoundCloud and somehow it took off. So he booked another studio session, this time for real, no freestyles, no borrowed beats, and he wanted to see if he could create something original. That's when he recorded his song Don't Run, and everything changed. Cass dropped this record independently, and within weeks, it had New York on fire. The video racked up millions of views, clubs were spinning the record non-stop, and the streets started treating Casanova like a real voice from Flatbush, not just another rapper that was pretending to be tough. It was loud, violent, and simple, but it worked, and it made people pay attention. One of those people was Memphis Bleek, Jay-Z's longtime friend and former Rockefeller artist. Bleek had just launched his own record label, Warehouse Music Group, a small imprint under Roc Nation, built specifically to scout new talent. And after hearing Don't Run, Bleek didn't wait. He reached out, pulled Cass into a meeting, and signed him off the strength of that one record. And suddenly, Casanova was no longer a guy that robbed people. He was a Roc Nation artist.
Bleek always like, from the beginning, I love Bleek, man. Bleek believed in me with one record. I still in my head, I was like, this guy is just he just signed me with one record. Like, how do you know if I was even gonna make another record? I had one record. I didn't believe it. Like, he signed me. I'm like, I'll take this free money. I didn't really even think I wanted to rap, but I think I had something to prove, so I was like, let me do it. Let me work.
Things only got sweeter for Cass from here. By chance, or maybe just a stroke of luck, he ran into another artist while shopping for jewelry, a dude named Young Low, who was at the time signed to Chris Brown. They both copped up a tech and started talking about it, ended up vibing, and started kicking it like they had known each other for years. A few days later, Low invited Cass to a basketball game, a casual invite, nothing major, but when Cass showed up, Chris Brown was there. And that moment, that one random hangout turned into one of the most important connections of Casanova's career.
How the hell you hook up with Chris Brown?
At the jeweler. I was with his artist at the jeweler, and we went to go get these Patek Philippe's. He was like, yo, nice watch. I was like, nice watch, you too. Stop trying front. I see you, all right, cool. And then that led into going out to eat. So we going out to eat. We went out to eat. Him and his boys, I'm showing them New York, whatever the case may be. They're like, yo, listen, you might as well come with us uptown. We getting drunk. And he like, yo, come uptown with me. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna come. I go, I see Chris Brown playing basketball. I'm like, all right, I see him, he got some moves. I see him, he playing basketball. From there, we went to the club. I went to the club with them, went to the studio, just had fun. And then, like 2 days after that, I came in there, I had a show at Lust. So I come in to go get the artist. Going to the hotel room, I'm like, yo, what you doing? You coming out with me? He like, yeah. All right. Chris Brown said, where y'all think y'all going? Yeah, we going to Lust, man, what's going on? What you doing? You chilling? He said, nah, nigga, I'm coming with you. I'm coming to support.
Chris was showing mad love to Casanova, showing up to his shows, hyping him up. And this all led to a moment that really did change everything when Chris asked Casanova if he wanted to go out on tour with him and be the opening act. It's the kind of offer that most new artists can only dream of, but there was a problem. Cass only had one song, Don't Run. Now the record was still buzzing, but that was all he had. He ain't have no set list, no catalog, nothing to actually perform on stage. So instead of fumbling the opportunity, Cass did what he always did. He locked in. He hit the studio and knocked out a whole mixtape from scratch, strictly so he'd have enough music to bring with him while he was on the road. And just like that, a guy who had barely touched a mic a year earlier was on Chris Brown's party tour, hitting arenas across the country.
I went to LA, was at his house, got a hotel out there, back and forth, and then it was just history. It's like, yo, Cass, wanna go on tour? Matter of fact, I'm lying. He was on InstaSnap, and he was like, yeah,
this person gonna be on tour, this person, and Casanova too. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what? I only got one song out. How I'm gonna do that? I swear I dropped like a project a week later.
Just to have songs.
Just to have songs on tour. And I packed my stuff. I took like a little $80,000 out to save. And I ain't looked back. I was gone for like 4 months.
The mixtape that Casanova recorded was called Be Safe though. The title was a nod to one of his close friends and podcaster, Taxstone, who was locked up at the time after he went out with Cass to a T.I. concert that ended terribly with somebody ending up getting shot and losing their life.
I told him to come out with me.
Damn, Cass.
You know what I'm saying? That's what that's why I feel like I owe him the world, man, because he was arguing with me like, I don't do that outside, I don't do that. And you know, I told him to come out with me. He wouldn't have been in this situation, I feel, if I'd have just been like, man, all right, you ain't gotta come, go ahead, you know what I'm saying?
Taxstone was eventually incarcerated for this, but that's a whole different story. Cass wasn't just paying tribute, he was stamping his loyalty for the world to see. He followed up with more music, dropping singles, refining his sound, and kept that same hungry energy in New York, started to pay attention. But around that same time, things started shifting in his personal life. Cass began hinting in interviews that his inner circle was getting smaller, that the people who used to support him were now watching from the sidelines, and some thought that it was because the fame changed him. Others were just bitter that it hadn't changed them.
I said, like, in a song, like, this is what I wanted. Like, I want to be lit. And then, like, when you get lit, now it's a headache because, like, now you got beef with your mother. Like, somebody that birthed you because she think you getting more money than you getting. You know what I'm saying? So now it's crazy because I'm arguing with family members. I'm losing real friends, like genuine friends, over the fame. And like I said to you before yesterday, I ain't even get a gold record. I ain't get a platinum record. I ain't get nothing on a chart yet. Where you think this money coming from? I'm still putting the pieces to the puzzle together, but the hate come with it.
This shift of friendship can be seen in full effect during an interview that he did with his former friend named Pudge. While Cass was making his come up, this guy started his own podcast called Gordo's Room, and he wanted Cass to come through and help put the podcast on the map. But the moment that the camera started rolling, you could feel the tension in the air. Cass basically spent the first 30 minutes of this interview calling Pudge out. Pudge asks why Cass hadn't been supportive of his podcast, and you could see Cass visually get frustrated and return the same question to Pudge, claiming that Pudge wasn't supportive of his music career, so why would he be supportive of his podcast? This was a really good interview, but it really shows in real time the drift between Cass and the people that he came up with.
Been doing this podcasting for like a year now. I got a lot to get off my chest because I've been in my feelings for quite a long time now. What's up, bro?
What's going on, man? You know I'm here. You can talk about it. You want to talk about it? You got some to get off your chest?
Thank you, first of all.
You ain't gotta thank me.
Know what I mean?
It's overdue, but
that's just my professional.
The professional.
I mean,
you just want to say
like,
me.
Yeah.
It's all good. I ain't worried. I got that Duce in my system. If a fight break out in here, just know it's being recorded. This is not a test.
So you know you like my day one, right? Like 20 years type of friendship type shit.
Yeah.
So what's up? What took you so long to finally agree to this?
What took
you
me
wanted
so?
To see what I could do for myself?
Nah. I just feel like you ain't the lookout. You ain't the driver. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, you ain't the robber no more neither.
Yeah, but you understand, I feel like I'm rapping now. You should be somewhere in that mix as far as an assistant, a manager, a road manager, a helper, a security, your big ass, anything other than you not being in the mix. You not in my life musically. So I feel away. So you doing your podcast, do your podcast. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing my music, I'm gonna do my music. But I feel like you should be a part of my music, and then I will be a part of your podcast. You don't feel that's only right?
You right for feeling that.
Hold on, when we was young, right?
We're not young no more.
Well, look, but when we was young, right? If you drove the car, you got less PC. If you was the lookout, right?
That's after when y'all figured out that I was getting away with the equal share.
Exactly.
And I wasn't doing nothing but driving. But this is my point, right?
All right, I'm listening.
We was robbing. Everybody was making money.
Mm-hmm.
When you first started this, you was grinding.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was eating. Nobody around you was eating. Unless a nigga book a show and scrap something off the top, which is cool. I don't mind being a supportive friend or none of that. I don't mind that. But at the end of the day, it's still reality when I get back home. I still got bills to pay. I still got shit to do. So maybe I got caught up doing what I had to do and I couldn't be there for this show. Because you didn't stop talking to me for not coming to a show. And it's just weird to me, like, how you don't understand as a friend, like, yo, bro, I got bills to pay, homie. Like, I can't make it to everything. So you wanted me to sacrifice my shelter?
No, I don't feel like you should have sacrificed your shelter, but I sacrificed my shelter. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you saying, what you gonna do? Sacrifice your shelter? What did I sacrifice for y'all? I don't feel like I got the love that I was supposed to get. Point blank period. You saying shelter? Y'all used to live with me.
This was a highly interesting interview, but after the smoke cleared, these two started reminiscing, and that's when it got crazy. They began casually talking about real life crimes that they had committed in the past. Cass even detailed that during the robberies, he was doing the stick ups, Pudge was the driver, another dude was playing the lookout. The interview really gave a good insight into the life that Cass was really living before rap. A good example of this is at one point in this interview when they discuss a robbery that they did and talk about kicking in a pimp's door, beating him, and even pouring gasoline on him as a scare tactic. It was wild, incriminating, and it's still up on YouTube till this day.
Like, we are robbing this the pimp crib. We are robbing the out of this nigga. Just beating him, just putting all type of gasoline on the nigga. All type of scared shit.
That's another thing. Like,
nobody, I don't think we was gonna set him on fire, but
we was not killers or nothing like that. We was just
robbers.
Now, these two, Casanova and Pudge, eventually did make peace, and Pudge even made an appearance in Casanova's In My Hood music video the following year. But this wasn't the first or the last time that his new lifestyle would cause him problems, because the next thing we seen was Cash dropping his single Set Trippin'. It was Casanova at his most aggressive. The beat was hard, the bars were hard, and even though he didn't drop names in this record, everybody knew exactly who this song was targeting: 6ix9ine. By late 2017, a new face had taken over New York's underground rap scene, and it was loud, rainbow colored, and impossible to ignore. Tekashi 6ix9ine, a Brooklyn rapper with wild hair, face tattoos, and viral energy, was blowing up off of tracks like Gummo and Kuda, and his aggressive delivery and chaotic visuals made him a breakout star. But what caught most people off guard was his apparent heavy blood affiliation. He flaunted red flags in his videos, talked with gang lingo in interviews, and rapped about a lifestyle that raised a lot of eyebrows. In an era where most rappers tried to blur the line between entertainment and real street life, 6ix9ine was running straight at it. He was calling out names, making real enemies, and daring people to test him, and it was working. His music was charting, his fan base was growing, and his online presence was really unmatched at the time. But not everybody was impressed, especially not the rappers who had really lived that life. And one of those rappers was Casanova. Casanova had just started gaining momentum of his own. To guys like him, 6ix9ine's sudden rise, and especially his gang flag waving antics, just didn't sit right. It felt performative. And in Brooklyn, that kind of image could get you tested fast. The tension started to build in silence. Two rappers from the same borough, both repping blood sets, both making noise, but only one of them was authentic. It wouldn't take long for that tension to boil over, leading to Cash dropping his song Set Trippin' with lyrics like, "If you want smoke, ain't nothing we gotta speak about. I see you with that red flag on, with that beat bout, and this was interpreted as Cash questioning 6ix9ine's blood affiliation. 6ix9ine reportedly jumped into Casanova's DMs asking, "Who is this for?" Pretty much a not so subtle hint that he felt disrespected and took it as a diss song. Cash went on Ebro in the morning and spoke on it, saying that the song wasn't directed at 6ix9ine, but that if the shoe fits, he wasn't saying that it wasn't.
People are saying that it's a record has something to do with you and the new artist Tekashi 6ix9ine. What validity does that rumor or statement have?
Like I said, if the shoe fits, you know what I'm saying, wear it. It goes to anybody that feels like they ain't who they say they are, I guess. Okay. So some people think it's for him. I guess they feel he's not who he say he is.
Okay.
I never told him personally it was for him. I think he took that upon himself to go onto my page and say, "Who is this for?" So everybody ran with it.
In that same interview, Cass goes on to say that him and 6ix9ine had never met each other or had a problem with each other, but that wouldn't be the case for long, because shortly after this interview, during a performance at Club Frequency, 6ix9ine took things even further, saying this on stage. On April 19, 2018, this smoldering feud turned dangerous when gunfire erupted at Casanova's music video shoot in Brooklyn. At least 10 shots were fired and 2 men in Casanova's entourage were hit. They didn't die and they later recovered, but nonetheless, police suspected that members of 6ix9ine's crew was behind the shooting.
You see what the f is going on? You know what's going on? Push up, what's up, man? You know what the f is going on? Get the f building. You know what's up? Gang in this bitch.
6ix9ine took to the internet to troll Casanova after this. He posted that video up on Instagram with the caption that said, "You keep my name in your mouth. How you getting shot at in your own hood? Can't even shoot a music video in Brooklyn. How that song go? Don't run. Where you going? I'm a killer too." And then he tagged Treyway, which was the blood set that he was representing. Casanova responded to Tekashi 6ix9ine on Instagram Live, basically denying that the incident happened, saying that didn't nobody shoot at him, and basically trying to downplay the whole situation.
"Bitch, I'm on parole. Don't make me hot." Why you doing that, huh, champ? You know no damn well nobody ain't shoot at me, man. Everybody in the motherfucking video shoot was my motherfucking sons, nigga.
Then, only 2 days after that video shooting, the tension between Casanova and 6ix9ine exploded again, this time in front of hundreds of people. On April 21st, 2018, both rappers and their crews showed up to Adrian Broner's fight at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And somewhere in the back hallways, they crossed paths. It didn't take long for things to go left, and a guy named Fubanger from Tekashi's crew, a Treyway member, pulled out a gun and opened fire inside the arena. Nobody was hit, but that one bullet sent the entire hallway into panic. As surveillance footage later leaked, it showed both crews squaring off before that shot was fired. Casanova's crew dipped immediately while 6ix9ine and his boys stuck around and were questioned by police. No weapon was found on them, but the damage was already done. Shortly after, 6ix9ine posted a video online mocking Casanova and his crew.
"Yo, this how the mob, man. Treyway shit, man. Fuck Jack Boy shit, man. In the Barclays, stupid. Boy, don't run. Where you going? Where you going? Boom, boom, boom. Hit that.
Yo, we gotta go this way, bro. We gotta go this way.
Started running it. Sad. Straight up.
Big.
That boy don't run. Fuck boy don't run. Where you going? Stupid. Yo, his whole squad hit the floor. His whole squad hit the floor, you heard?
What? Everybody?
Everybody getting shot. Boom, boom, boom. Straight up.
Everybody hit the floor?
Everybody hit the floor, blood. Treyway shit.
But behind the scenes, the feds weren't laughing. The bullet inside the Barclays Center, it became a key piece of evidence when the government started building a RICO case against the 9 Trey Bloods. Fubanga, the shooter, was indicted and pled guilty to gang-related firearm charges, and the court said that this was an act of intimidation aimed directly at Casanova's crew, and yet Cass was the one who got hit the hardest. Even though the shots didn't come from his crew or from his side, the Barclays Center decided that they were gonna ban him instead of banning 6ix9ine.
You currently cannot go to the Barclay.
Currently cannot go. I ain't even do. I missed like 4 good bags for not being able to perform there. But I could have been a lame and sued.
Basically, you were under attack, basically.
It don't matter what I was. It was basically something happened and it didn't come from me, as the video could see. So I could sue. I could get a little 2-3 million for saying, oh, I'm paranoid now, I don't want to be in public places. I could do that.
While after this, 6ix9ine continued to gain views, fans, and make headlines, Cass started to lose everything, even saying that he felt like he was blackballed from the music industry and nobody wanted to mess with him anymore.
I feel like every single person in the United States turned their back on me. My music went from playing every second to set tripping, not even playing on the radio. 6 months without a booking. Like, that was crazy, like in New York.
When was this?
With that 6ix9ine situation.
6 months without a booking?
It was like 4 to 6 months.
That's crazy.
They would not allow me to get booked.
From Casanova's point of view, the industry had turned its back. His reputation took a hit because of this, and the pressure started to wear him down to the point that he revealed in an interview that he felt like he wanted to quit rapping at this point.
That was like stressful. I think I wanted to quit rapping. I was like, man, this shit ain't for me.
It's crazy because I didn't feel that energy. Like, I didn't feel like people say we can't play Casanova. I didn't sense that.
I don't think they were saying like, we can't play Casanova. It was just like, make sure you play 6ix9ine. It was kind of like, if they had to pick who to sneakily invite, because they had to sneakily invite both of us at that time, they was picking him.
However, through all of this, Casanova never did jump online for clout and start dissing 6ix9ine. There was no rants, no response videos, and no games. And with the way that 6ix9ine's story ended, this was honestly a very good move, because unlike 6ix9ine, Casanova was aware that the police more than likely was monitoring this situation, so he felt like there was no need for him to risk his freedom trying to go back and forth online with this kid.
I will never argue with a person on the internet a day in my life. I don't care what you say about me. I wouldn't. And I think that's what saved me, and I say it did save me, that I didn't argue with him on the internet.
Well, that was another thing you brought up in the interview, and I wanted to ask you about that, because that's the most intelligent, smart thing that you could have done.
I knew not to do that from being indicted on gang activities before. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never been hit with no RICO or nothing like what they got hit with. But in the state, I've been locked up. All my friends, we've been on Rikers Island because of MySpace and stuff like that, showing guns on MySpace and doing stuff at schools and stuff. So I already knew. I was just like, damn, how the fuck is this nigga getting away with all of this? This is crazy. If it was me, they would have came knock, knock, knock. I promised myself, I said, I'm not giving nobody no energy. Nigga can say anything he want by my mother, kids. I'm not doing nothing on the internet. Because if you on the internet, you really don't want smoke. So you're not gonna threaten nobody on the internet if you really about that life. Unless you crazy. You got crazy people that don't care about going to jail. But nobody that been through the storm is gonna threaten somebody, their life on the internet.
By May of 2018, things had just gotten too hot. The NYPD was watching both crews, the feds started to build cases, and Casanova was done losing money, shows, and sleep over it, so they squashed it. Behind the scenes, Shotty, 6ix9ine's manager and alleged shot caller for the 9 Trey Bloods, reached out to Cass's team. And just like that, the beef was over. The next thing we seen was a video being posted online of 6ix9ine and Casanova within inches of each other, shouting each other out outside of Club Love Lust in New York, and saying that there was no more tension and there was no more drama.
Look who I bumped into.
You know that shit Treyway shit, man. You know that hate.
Look who I bumped into. Oh, it's out of lust. It's out of lust. Oh, shit. Oh.
And saying that there was no more tension and there was no more drama.
Billy, man, you ain't know that shit Treyway shit, man.
We outside.
There was never no beef, man. Just a misunderstanding, man. We here, we strong.
We
New York strong,
outside.
and we on top, man. You
Leave
ain't know
us
that
alone.
shit. And song coming soon, man.
Leave us alone. Leave us alone.
Treyway shit, man.
No police contact. We good.
And just like that, one of New York's most dangerous rap beefs ended with a hug and a handshake. Casanova reflected on the beef in interviews throughout 2018, and he admitted that squashing it brought peace of mind, but also some consequences. His shows were still getting shut down, and despite doing the mature thing, people around him criticized him, saying that he had gone soft. He told The Breakfast Club, "People tried to throw batteries in my back, praying that I would crash out, but I didn't." Cass said that he had a moment of clarity and that being scared was smart, basically meaning that being aware of what prison or death could really mean wasn't a weakness, it was wisdom. And that wisdom he credited to advice that he got from Jay-Z. In the long run, Cass said he felt like to the public he lost this beef because he just didn't engage with 6ix9ine online, but that he personally felt like he won because 6ix9ine and his gang would eventually be indicted on RICO charges and Casanova wasn't, at least not yet.
After I started speaking to him, I feel like, you know, he a little kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, he used to call me and just be laughing and be like, "Yo, Cass, watch, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna troll this." And I used to be like, "This nigga is crazy. Like, this nigga think it's a game." I used to always say, "Yo, homie, you gonna get locked up for the months we was talking." But I looked at it like I dodged a big bullet, and I'm happy. Like, everybody always act like I took an L, but I ain't take an L. I never once mentioned him on Instagram. There's no videos ever with me saying, "Yo, when I catch you, I'ma kill you," and it just, like, I've been there before. I've been locked up on gang indictments and all my friends being locked up with me. We all on Rikers Island. So I saw it, but everybody thought like I was losing. Like, everybody was like, "Oh, Cass getting soft," or just down and third. Nah, I was dodging a bullet that I knew was gonna come.
Casanova and 6ix9ine did end up making a song together. It's called Get This Strap. It also featured 50 Cent and Uncle Murder. But during that music video shoot, another drive-by shooting erupted. Casanova was on set and a white Porsche rolled up and fired 8 to 11 rounds into the Brooklyn street where they were filming. Nobody was hit, but the bullets were real, and the NYPD opened yet another investigation. Till this day, it's still unclear who the target was. Some suspected it was connected to 6ix9ine's many beefs. Others thought it might trace back to old grudges between Casanova and somebody else. But either way, Casanova kept his word. He didn't escalate the situation. He didn't retaliate as far as we know. And there's no reports of conflict between him and 6ix9ine after that. That happened in August of 2018. By November of 2018, 6ix9ine was being arrested. And even though Casanova walked away from this beef relatively untouched and unfazed, this really truly was only the beginning of Casanova's problems. Just when it seemed like Casanova's rap career was hitting new highs, features, festival stages, and the 6ix9ine beef finally behind him, the street life he tried to distance himself from came roaring back on August 5th, 2018. Casanova and his crew were at the Good Stuff Diner in Manhattan on a late night food run when he noticed a 23-year-old woman at a nearby table with her phone pointed in his direction. Cass got suspicious, and in his mind, she might have been filming him without his permission, maybe trying to catch a viral moment, or even worse, maybe lining him up. According to the woman, she wasn't doing any of that. She said she was simply live streaming her meal on Facebook, but that didn't stop what happened next. Casanova allegedly walked over, grabbed the woman's phone, and tried to delete the video. That's when things escalated. A man with Cass allegedly put her in a chokehold hard enough that she lost consciousness, and while she was on the ground, she claimed that Casanova started hitting her, busting her lip, and leaving her bleeding on the diner floor. The NYPD quickly opened an investigation and just days later issued a warrant for Casanova's arrest. The charges were robbery for taking the phone and assault. In the media, it was a field day. Rapper Casanova wanted for brutal diner attack. Headlines like that hit every outlet. A woman allegedly getting jumped by a rising rap star over her phone wasn't a good look. it was messy, viral, and bad for business.
Tams and Corey, it really wasn't easy for Nia Rucker to come forward. She showed us the messages, members of this rapper's inner circle begging her to keep quiet. But Ms. Rucker believes even celebrities should be brought to justice.
This is embarrassing. I eat food in 3 days.
Nia Rucker has stitches in her face, a broken jaw, and her tooth was knocked loose.
It's more than just the physical pain.
Rucker says she was attacked by Brooklyn rapper Casanova and his entourage.
You think just because you're somebody, you can do whatever the hell you want to somebody, and that's not okay.
It was 4:40 Sunday morning. Nia was at the Good Stuff Diner. She says Casanova was also there with a group of his friends. Rucker tells Pix 11, after the waitress brought her food, she wanted to show off her meal on Instagram Live.
Then all of a sudden I hear, hey, yo, shorty, take me off your live. So I turned around, I'm like, oh, you're not in my live. You're not even in the frame. Took my phone, and then after that, choked me to unconsciousness and then dropped me.
Rucker is confident the man in the diner was Casanova. He bragged about being a rapper and had on that signature chain. Casanova tweeted a photo of him in New York 2 hours before the diner beatdown. That's what he was wearing when you were at the diner? Mm-hmm. Today, Rucker returned to the 13th Police Precinct. Detectives are actively working the case.
People think they can get away with stuff because they got a bunch of people with them, or they got a bunch of money, or they think they somebody. I think I'm somebody too.
Casanova's lawyer quickly denied the allegations, calling them exaggerated and saying that the woman just wanted a payday. And Cass's wife also came to his defense, claiming that Casanova was being set up, but none of that stopped the wheels from turning. Casanova surrendered to the police and was released on bail pending trial. Later on, the woman filed a civil lawsuit against Casanova too, meaning that this wasn't just a criminal case, it was also a civil one. And while most people thought the whole thing would quietly go away, it didn't. Years later, when the feds came knocking with the RICO indictment, this exact incident was listed in the court documents. The diner brawl that started over a phone had officially become a predicate act in the government's racketeering case against Casanova and his gang. By the end of 2020, Casanova's life flipped from rap fame to federal fugitive almost overnight. On December 1st, 2020, the feds dropped the hammer, and prosecutors in the Southern District of New York unsealed a massive indictment. 18 members of the untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation were hit with RICO, drug, weapon, and even COVID fraud charges, and Casanova's name was on that list. The indictment listed murder, attempted murder, narcotics trafficking, wire fraud, firearms violations, and more. One co-defendant was charged with the murder of a 15-year-old in Poughkeepsie just a few months earlier, a brutal killing that showed how deep the violence went. Casanova wasn't tied to that murder, but it painted a clear picture of what kind of crew the government said he was repping. The feds said Casanova wasn't just affiliated, but was also a leader in the Gorilla Stone Nation, using his fame to fund operations. And when the charges hit, Cass was nowhere to be found. 17 of the 18 indicted were arrested immediately, but Casanova was the only one missing, so the FBI went public, literally tweeting out a wanted poster and told him to turn himself in.
Casanova is wanted by the FBI. His real name is Caswell Sr., and the feds say he's a member of a violent street gang. Sr. is one of 18 members charged with drug trafficking and racketeering in the city and upstate. Federal agents believe Sr. could be in Atlanta. One of the suspects is charged with murdering a Poughkeepsie teenager in September.
Facing life in prison behind these charges, Casanova decided that the right thing to do would be to turn himself in, so he did just that. On the next day, December 2nd, 2020, he walked into Midtown South Precinct in Manhattan and surrendered. Cameras caught him being led into federal custody, and before he did, he made a couple videos for social media saying that he was innocent, telling people to watch who they hung around because it could get him in trouble, and even saying bye to his wife.
As you already know, I'm fighting serious charges right now. But I'm innocent, that's one. Two, I've been fighting my whole life, so I'll get through this. But just understand how they can get you jammed up. You don't know nobody, you ain't got nothing to do with nothing, they still get you jammed up. Rappers, we are a target. Just be careful out there, watch who you associate with, watch who people bring you around. I'll see y'all soon.
Going in, baby, I love you like cooked food. You know, I'm a whole gangster, tough dude. I'll see you soon. I love you like cooked food.
I love you too.
The charges that Casanova was facing were serious: a racketeering conspiracy, conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, specifically a large-scale marijuana operation, and possession of a firearm, and furtherance of drug trafficking. Casanova pled not guilty to these charges and asked for bail, but the government wasn't hearing it. They argued that he was a danger to the community and a flight risk, and the judge agreed, so no bail was given to Casanova, and he was stuck in custody while his case moved forward. According to the indictment, Casanova was directly connected to two violent incidents. The first was the August 5th, 2018 diner robbery, and the second was the July 5th, 2020 shooting in Miami at a party when Casanova allegedly got into a dispute over a gambling debt with another person. According to court records, Cass pulled out a gun and fired, shooting one person in the leg and hitting another with a ricochet. And while no one was killed, the prosecutors called it a violent outburst over money, made worse by Casanova's alleged gang affiliation. Add to that a multi-state marijuana trafficking ring, with Cass allegedly financing large shipments and overseeing some sales, plus a pandemic fraud scheme where they say Gorilla Stone members filed fake unemployment claims using stolen identities, and you've got the government painting a picture of a rapper deep in the streets while fronting as a celebrity. With a RICO case like this stacked against him, a conviction would mean life in prison for Casanova. And slowly but surely, his co-defendants started flipping, and Casanova had a choice to make: either stand tall at trial or cut a deal. And so, after a year and a half behind bars, watching his co-defendants fold one by one, Casanova decided to take a deal. On May 11, 2022, in federal court, Casanova stood before a judge and pled guilty to two major charges: racketeering conspiracy and narcotics conspiracy. On top of that, he had to admit to two violent crimes: the diner robbery and the Miami shooting. He also admitted to trafficking at least 100 kilograms of marijuana and acknowledged being a leader in the Gorilla Stone Nation, saying that he helped coordinate illegal activities from the top down. At this point, Casanova became the 13th defendant in the Gorilla Stone case to plead guilty. One by one, the whole crew had collapsed. Most of them were already serving time, with some facing 20 years or more. So why did Casanova fold and take this plea deal? Because the charges he was facing at trial added up to a possible 60-year sentence behind bars. And even with the plea, the sentence was still going to be heavy, but there was an upside to taking the plea. By doing it, he avoided additional charges like firearms possession and potentially spared himself an even longer sentence if he lost in court. But freedom was no longer on the table. Casanova was going to prison. It was just a question of for how long. And on June 27, 2023, Casanova finally faced the music. Inside a White Plains federal courtroom, he stood before Judge Philip Halpert and was handed 188 months in prison. That's 15 years and 8 months. The judge didn't sugarcoat it. He said that Casanova wasn't just some rapper who got caught up in the wrong crowd, but that he was a high-profile leader in a vicious street gang who used his fame to further the crime. It was the kind of sentencing statement that doubles as a warning. You want to be involved in violent street gangs? This is where it leads. But Casanova didn't walk away quietly. Before the sentencing, he wrote a letter to the judge that was raw, emotional, and maybe even a little desperate. In it, he renounced his ties to the Gorilla Stone Nation, saying that he didn't want to be a gang member anymore, that he couldn't leave when he was free because if he tried, they would kill him. He talked about losing his father while he was locked up waiting on this trial, talked about his friends dying, and about having to battle depression. He said he wanted to use his story to steer young people away from the streets, to show them the price that came with being a gangster, but the letter didn't change the outcome. He was sentenced to 15 years, but the prosecutors wanted more. Some of his co-defendants, including some of the gang leaders like Dick Wolf, got sentenced to 20 plus years. So in that sense, Casanova's 15 years and some change was lighter than it could have been, but it's still a long walk. By the time Casanova gets out of prison, he'll more than likely be 50 something plus years old. And by that time, there probably won't be no more shows, no more albums to put out. It'll just be what he used to have and what he wishes he could get again. In June 2023, just weeks before his sentencing, Casanova was slashed in the face by another inmate at the Essex County Jail. A razor or makeshift blade left a deep cut across his cheek. Officials said it started after Casanova renounced his gang ties, and some inmates saw that as a betrayal. That attack proved something Casanova already knew. leaving the streets is harder than joining them. Since then, he's kept a relatively low profile, but now and then messages get out. In one post relayed through social media, Casanova wrote, "I lost everything, but I didn't lose my life." He's even done a couple of interviews talking about his time since being locked up. He's hinted at writing more music, but other than that, Casanova's story pretty much ends with him going to that cell. From Flatbush to federal prison. A man who could have had it all, but paid the price for trying to live in two worlds at the same time for too long.